Man, what a roller coaster this season has been. The highs, the lows, the heartbreaks, all of it packed into one intense run. And now we're here talking about what went wrong and why it all fell apart. First thing I want to get into is the game itself, and more importantly, the aftermath. We lost. Plain and simple. The 49ers played the way they were supposed to, executing their game plan flawlessly, and they exposed the cracks in our squad. It wasn't a surprise if you watched the tape. They knew exactly how to keep us in check, how to limit the Eagles' explosive moments, and how to stay in the game until the offense cooled off. You know how it goes. Score 20 or more points against us, and you're already halfway to victory. That's the reality of this matchup. Credit to them. They did it, and they moved forward. But now, let's dissect what happened with our team, because the story of this loss isn't just about the opponent. It's about missed opportunities, mismanagement, and some frustrating lapses that were avoidable. Starting with the players, I have to talk about leadership, or, in some cases, the lack thereof. A.J. Brown not talking to the media after a tough game like that, that's weak. It really is. Being a captain comes with responsibilities beyond just what happens on the field. You have to step up even when things go south. You had multiple drops, you didn't play your best, and then there's that sideline argument with your coach. These things happen in the heat of the moment, but shutting down and avoiding accountability doesn't reflect well on a leader. Compare that to guys like Devontae Smith or even Nate Sirianni. They might have had rough games, but they faced the press, they stayed and addressed the situation, and that matters. That's leadership. AJ's actions, or lack thereof, in that scenario were noticeable, and it's something that needs to be addressed moving forward. Now, beyond the players, let's talk coaching, because this was an area that definitely impacted the outcome. Watching AJ being essentially benched without officially being benched, that was petty. The argument on the sideline led to him being iced out of the game for several drives, and that influenced the offense. The timing of that was crucial. When you exclude one of your star receivers like that, even if it's brief, it disrupts rhythm and makes big plays that much harder to come by. It's one thing to manage emotions and discipline. It's another to let personal frustrations dictate in-game decisions. The coaching staff, in this instance, mishandled the situation, and you saw the direct result on the field. The targets weren't there when AJ needed them, and by the time he started getting looks again, he was cold. That's not on the player alone. That's a coordination problem, plain and simple. Speaking of the execution on the field, let's break down some defensive issues. Reed Blankenship had a rough day, and it's tough to watch. The trick play touchdown where the wide receiver tossed it to Christian McCaffrey, complete breakdown. That one play showcased how even a strong defensive unit can falter when the fundamentals aren't followed. Reed was caught flat-footed, and that's not the kind of performance you can let slide in a playoff atmosphere. I've said it before, Reed is a great support player, but he isn't the centerpiece of the defense. He needs help, a secondary leader, someone to cover those critical moments. Watching that play unfold was frustrating because it was preventable. Mistakes like that cost us points and momentum, and in high-stakes games, momentum is everything. Now let's shift to some positives, because there were moments that showed flashes of what this team can do. Quan Mitchell, despite a shaky start, ended up with 2 interceptions. Those are game-changing plays that give your team a shot to win. It wasn't enough to overcome other deficiencies, but it highlights that the defensive talent is present and capable when the scheme works and when everyone executes. The problem is consistency. You can't have flashes. You need sustained performance. That's where coaching and discipline come into play, and unfortunately, that's where this team fell short repeatedly this season. Offensively, it's hard to ignore the line play and the penalties. The O-line struggled, and while injuries contributed, there were penalties that were completely avoidable. Undisciplined football reflects leadership and preparation, and we saw a lot of both lacking in critical moments. The run game was predictable. The short passes weren't converting, and 3-and-outs became a recurring nightmare. It's frustrating because you know the potential is there. This squad has talent, but talent alone doesn't win championships. Execution and coaching are equally important. Every misstep felt magnified in these big moments, and it's exactly what kept us from capitalizing on opportunities against the 49ers. Even when looking at individual performances, it's clear the offensive strategy missed the mark this year. Dallas Goedert was arguably the most reliable weapon. He consistently made plays when the ball came his way, far more than other high-profile receivers. A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith had flashes, but their inconsistencies hurt the flow of the offense. Devontae had some big drops in key moments, and A.J. didn't get the rhythm he needed because of coaching decisions. The strategy should have leaned more heavily on what worked consistently, rather than trying to force the high-risk, high-reward plays in the wrong moments. The truth is, this offense could have been more dynamic, more efficient, and more reliable if adjustments were made earlier in the season. Now, talking coaching again, Kevin Patullo's play calling continues to be a glaring issue. The same mistakes we've seen week after week kept showing up. You start strong, the first drives look promising, and then it all collapses into predictable plays and ineffective adjustments. Hiring within doesn't automatically solve problems, and relying on past familiarity with players hasn't produced results. This season has made it painfully clear that the offensive coordinator role needs a fresh perspective. You can't expect growth when the same ineffective strategies are repeated without correction. Even with the talent on the roster, poor coaching can nullify potential, and that's exactly what we witnessed. Continuing from where we left off, let's get back to the offensive breakdown because there's so much to unpack here. Jake Elliott, for instance, has been a sore point all season. This guy is the second highest-paid kicker in the league, and yet every miss feels like a punch to the gut. Extra points, field goals, and clutch moments, you name it. He struggled when we needed him most. And it's not just about one bad game. It's a trend that can't be ignored. Competition at the kicker position isn't just a luxury. It's a necessity. You need to push every player to perform, especially in a team with championship aspirations. When the kicker can't be relied upon, it puts the whole offense under more pressure, and that's exactly what happened in the playoffs. But even beyond the kicking game, this team's offensive identity has been murky. There's no clear rhythm, no consistent playmaking outside of a few bright spots. The line struggled with both run blocking and pass protection, leaving the quarterback under duress far too often. Kevin Patullo's game plan starts off sharp, but once the team faces adjustments from opponents, it collapses into predictability. Run up the middle, quick passes, a handful of deep balls, nothing that consistently threatens the defense. When you compare this to the other playoff teams, you realize the gap isn't just talent. It's execution and adaptability. Teams like the 49ers, Rams, and even the Seahawks know how to make adjustments mid-game. They anticipate what you're going to do and force mistakes. The Eagles, on the other hand, often seem unprepared for these shifts, and that's a coaching problem. Speaking of mistakes, penalties have been a recurring nightmare all season. False starts, holding calls, personal fouls, they pile up at the worst possible moments. And it's not just random. It's a reflection of preparation and discipline. The defense may give you opportunities, but the offense can't capitalize when they're undermining themselves with repeated errors. It's frustrating because you know the team has the tools to dominate, but these self-inflicted wounds keep stacking up, and suddenly the game slips away. Discipline is coaching, leadership, and culture all wrapped together, and this year it was lacking. The receivers had their ups and downs, and that inconsistency hurt. A.J. Brown had some big drops, Devontae Smith as well. It's frustrating to see because both players have the talent to change a game in a single play. But when execution falters, even the most explosive athletes can't carry the team. Meanwhile, Dallas Goedert quietly proved he should have been the focal point of the offense all season. Reliable hands, smart route running, and an ability to consistently create separation made him a weapon that wasn't fully utilized. The game plan could have leaned on him more, but the coaching staff seemed fixated on other stars, which backfired. The offense suffered as a result, and that's why watching this playoff exit was so infuriating. It wasn't just bad luck. It was predictable mismanagement. On the defensive side, there were flashes of brilliance that remind us why this unit has championship potential. Quan Mitchell, after a shaky start, made key plays that demonstrated his skill and awareness. The secondary showed moments of lockdown coverage that could have changed the outcome if paired with a more consistent pass rush. But even great defenses can't carry a team alone. The offensive struggles, poor decisions in critical situations, and special teams miscues overshadowed what could have been a dominant showing. It's a bitter pill to swallow because the talent is clearly there, but the supporting cast and systems need to be aligned for it to fully materialize. Special teams, in general, also left something to be desired. Kicking aside, field position was inconsistent, and coverage units allowed chunks of yardage at inopportune moments. In playoff football, these small advantages add up, and the Eagles didn't leverage them. Every yard counts, every second matters, and failing to maximize these situations only amplifies the pressure on both the offense and defense. It's another area where discipline and preparation come into play, and again, coaching is the central theme. Another key point is the decision-making under pressure. Play calling in critical situations often left us predictable, forcing the quarterback to make reads that should have been simplified by better schemes. Nick Sirianni's approach this year, especially in high-stakes moments, has been questionable. Emotional reactions, like the sideline argument with A.J. Brown, are distractions that ripple across the team. Leadership is about keeping everyone focused, even when frustration builds and moments like that underline a larger issue. The team needs guidance, clarity, and composure in the heat of the moment, and this season showed gaps in all three areas. Looking at the bigger picture, the offense was expected to carry more weight in the modern era. Defenses alone can't win championships anymore, and even a stellar defensive performance isn't enough if your offensive schemes are stale and your execution falters. This team had championship-level defenders, but the offensive inconsistency, coaching missteps, and lapses in execution prevented that potential from translating into wins. Watching it unravel in a playoff game is painful because you know what this team could be if everything clicked together. The mental aspect also played a role. Pressure moments exposed cracks in confidence and focus. Drops, missed reads, penalties, these things compound when the team is under stress. Leadership on and off the field matters more than ever in these situations, and unfortunately, this team showed weaknesses there. Captains, coaches, and key playmakers all need to step up simultaneously in playoff football, and the Eagles struggled to align in that way. Moments that require poise became opportunities for mistakes, and mistakes became momentum shifts in favor of the opposition. Lastly, it's clear that for the Eagles to move forward, there has to be accountability at all levels. Players must embrace their roles, make plays consistently, and maintain composure. Coaches need to adjust, innovate, and ensure the team is prepared for the variables every opponent presents. The culture has to support resilience, adaptability, and discipline, not just raw talent. Without addressing these systemic issues, even a roster full of stars can fall short. This season highlighted that truth in stark terms, and now the offseason becomes the critical period for reflection, adjustment, and preparation. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep delivering the latest updates on our Philadelphia Eagles. And don't be shy. Share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Bo Nix's name echoed through league circles after comments attributed to the quarterback began to circulate, igniting speculation and quiet debate. According to sources close to the situation, NIX reacted candidly when the Philadelphia Eagles came up in conversation, and his tone reportedly caught even seasoned observers off guard. What was expected to be a measured, diplomatic answer instead sounded sharp, reflective, and, in some interpretations, openly critical. The rumor suggests that NIX questioned the Eagles' overall approach, hinting at issues that go beyond talent on the field. Insiders claim he alluded to decision-making, rhythm, and identity, implying that the team's struggles were less about individual mistakes and more about systemic inconsistencies. While he avoided naming specific players, the implication was clear enough to spark reaction across locker rooms and front offices. Those familiar with NIX describe him as thoughtful but competitive, someone who studies opponents deeply. That reputation is fueling the belief that his remarks were not offhand frustration, but rather a calculated observation. Some analysts interpret his words as respect disguised as criticism, the kind that only comes from a quarterback who sees the game through a strategic lens. Others believe the comments crossed an invisible line, giving the Eagles bulletin board material and adding unnecessary tension. Within Philadelphia's orbit, the reaction has reportedly been mixed. Some view the criticism as external noise, while others quietly acknowledge that hearing it from a young quarterback known for preparation makes it harder to dismiss. Around the league, the speculation continues to grow. Was NIX simply being honest, or was he signaling confidence in his own trajectory by challenging a high-profile franchise? Until NIX addresses the matter publicly, the story remains wrapped in rumor. Yet the surprise element is undeniable. In a league where words are often polished smooth, even the suggestion of blunt criticism feels seismic. Whether this moment fades quickly or lingers as a talking point may depend less on what was said and more on how both sides respond when the spotlight inevitably returns. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Philadelphia Eagles, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.